three.
This guest I am extremely excited about. He is a friend of the Philly Godfather. Therefore, he is a friend of our show, of me, of Follow the Action, you name it. Fighting out of Philadelphia, Mr. Harry Mayes, one of the all-time radio greats. Harry, thank you very much for joining us on Follow the Action.
Hey, John, great to be here. And you know that only bad things happen in Philadelphia.
Oh, my. I've wrestled there so many times, man. I was always the bad guy. So a lot of bad things happened to me. I was such a bad guy. Normally they cheered the bad guys. I was just bad enough that they actually booed me, too. It was quite unusual.
We love heels here in Philadelphia.
One of the greatest arenas in the world. Some of the greatest fans. I see you're on a golf course. So I'm taking it's a virtual golf course. But
yes, it's virtual.
We want to talk to you about golf in a minute because we got our golf expert coach. But I want to ask you about Philadelphia. I want to ask you about the NFC East, which has become the NFC least. It's unbelievable. I mean, what in the world happened to this incredible division? Right now, you've got the Cowboys and the Washington football team leading the division at 1-2. What happened?
Let me tell you, John, it's a total disaster. The NFC East is an absolute disaster. No, it seriously is. And the Eagles are lucky for that, to be honest with you, because they've gotten off to an awful start. The quarterback is playing probably as poorly as he's played in his career. And this guy was on pace to be an MVP before he got injured a few years ago. He's got an immense amount of talent. I think right now he's really trying to adjust and trying to do too much with a sort of average to below average group of wide receivers. He's got tight ends, and one of them got hurt, broke his ankle. Goddard left the game early this past weekend. He's trying to do too much with Zach Ertz and a running back. That's really all he's got right now. Deshaun Jackson hasn't given him a whole hell of a lot. I think he's definitely on the downside of his career. So he's trying to figure his way around, again, like he did at the end of last year when he got the Eagles into the playoffs with practice squad guys at the wideout position. I mean, in Philadelphia, people bail on stars too quickly. They do. And that, there's folks here that are still in this mindset that, God, I wish we still had Nick Foles. And Nick Foles comes into a game last week for the Chicago Bears and leads them back into a victory. And now he's going to get the start this week. So that only exacerbates what is already a bad situation. They've got offensive line problems. They've got the quarterback has got footwork problems. They've got injuries throughout the roster, and their defense isn't turning the ball over. I mean, Carson's turning the ball over, but the defense hasn't made any turnovers. So it's a big cacophony of shit right now here in Philadelphia with the Eagles.
Larry, you only used one word right there that any of these guys even understand.
What, cacophony?
No, shit. That's the only thing that they understand. Everything else, are like, what did he just say? Now, Harry, you're in one of those rare cities that has the four major sports. There's never an off season for you guys in Philadelphia. And certainly the NBA playing their finals right now as opposed to back in June is a little weird, but it's been awesome in the bubble. You're an East Coast guy. Yeah. When you look at the matchup, and we're taping this on a Wednesday and the final start Wednesday night, what are you most excited about during this Heat-Lakers matchup? And also, how would you bet it if you were betting?
I've already taken the Heat at plus 285, I think, on DraftKings. I got a few days ago for the series. Now, a lot of that, though, Coach, and I gotta give it up to the Philly Godfather here, because I bet with my heart a little bit too much. I don't take emotion out of it. PGF has no emotion. He has no heart. He's a soulless guy, and that's why he's a great bettor. Okay, but
Harry, but if you unfollow him on Twitter, he has all kinds of emotion.
Oh yeah,
trust me on that. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
He blocked me, Harry. He blocked me on Twitter.
Unbelievable. Worst thing I've ever seen. And I've been around for 53 and a half years on this planet. Worst thing I've ever seen. Coach did it to the Philly Godfather.
That is an outrage.
It's an outrage. It's an outrage.
It is an outrage. But I'm with the Heat here. I'm a Jimmy Butler guy. I was really excited when they made the move to bring him here to Philadelphia, because I'm a little bit like Jimmy Butler. If you've ever done a radio show with me, or ever worked with me in radio, I hold people accountable, and I don't give a shit like about, you know, relationships, like, you know, screw you, you're not doing your job, I'm going to come at you. And that's the way he is. He's a little bit, he's like a clubhouse lawyer in a way. He's a little bit tough to manage, but that doesn't mean he's not a great basketball player and a great leader of men. And I think that was the element that the Miami Heat needed. And this Adebayo guy has emerged as a star in the league a lot quicker than I thought he would. You put that with Dragic, who was the guy that Pat Riley brought in there to sort of make the transition out of the LeBron years, and it's taken a little while, but they've gotten back to the finals. And you got to give Pat Riley and Spoelstra a hell of a lot of credit to do what they did this year. I love some of the matchups here on the perimeter because Miami's a good perimeter defensive team. You know, the Lakers aren't a great 3-point team. You know, Green and Pope has not been good from three. So I kind of like the matchup here.
Harry, I want to get Philly Godfather in here because he's one of your Philly mates down there, the person without a heart.
Yes.
My old college, Abilene Christian, which nobody's ever heard of, the only two notable alumni came to Philadelphia, Wilbur Montgomery and Tex Cobb. Both.
That's right.
Tex got thrown out of college for shooting a flaming arrow from one dorm into another dorm window. And he told the story on David Letterman. He said, I lit it on fire so they'd see it coming. Wouldn't get hurt. That's a true story.
Tex Cobb's kid played at Temple played Temple football, I think. And I met him in the parking lot at a tailgate. That guy's fists were about this. They were like cinder blocks. I shook his hand. I was amazed.
I tell you, if he had just had 40 or 50 more rounds, he'd have been home. Hey, Harry, I want to let the Philly Godfather get in, but I want to ask you real quick about a little more about the NFC East. I grew up in Texas, obviously a Cowboy fan, so we guys are against each other at least 2 Sundays every single year. Cowboys appear incredibly loaded, and if not for one of the dumbest plays in NFL history, they'd be 0-3 right now. I'm talking about the Atlanta Falcons letting that ball roll 10 yards. It was insane. The Cowboys' future. What do you see as far as the Dallas Cowboys are loaded with talent? They're 1-2, should be 0-3. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I love the Cowboys actually this weekend against the Browns. That's one of my plays. I took them -4.5 at home against Cleveland, and some of that is an anti-Cleveland pick. I just think Cleveland has been overhyped for 2 years now, and they've got a lot of talent. They've got a lot of, like, you know, fantasy football type players, but I love the Cowboys this week to finally, you know, get a legitimate win. You're right about Atlanta. Atlanta is a disaster, but you didn't ask me about them. I like Dallas. I thought Dallas would probably win about 10 games this year and probably win the division. And I was looking at the Eagles to slide in there for a wild card. And right now there might only be one team coming out of the NFC East.
Philly Godfather, I know you were about to have a question a second ago before Coach cut you off. At least he didn't unfollow you this time. So go ahead and hop in here.
That's a
Philadelphia made Mr. Harry Mays.
It was just about the NFC East. I mean, it's the only division in football that every team has a negative point differential. And yet, as bad as the Eagles have played, they still have about a 23% chance to make the playoffs, Harry. Is there any way this team can turn it around, you know, before the end of the season, maybe sneak in the playoffs, you know, with an 8-win season? And that was the first question. The second question is, can Belichick stop the Chiefs this week?
You know, Belichick and the Chiefs is obviously the marquee matchup this week, and they run the football so well. You know, they can control the clock. I think, you know, Cam Newton is getting better and better each week under this coaching staff, and he's really enjoying himself. That's one thing about Cam Newton, to me, reminds me of, you know, some NBA players. Like when they're having fun, that's when they play their best. And he looks like he's having fun with Belichick, which a lot of people, when that you know, connection was made, they're like, man, how's that going to work? I think Cam Newton's having more fun. I'm liking the Patriots plus the 7 against the Chiefs this week. But as far as the NFC East goes, look, the Eagles have to start, you know, their front four has a lot of names. They got a bunch of sacks against Cincinnati. It still didn't matter last week. They got to start getting some turnovers and putting their quarterback in some short field positions. You guys watch as much NFL or more than I do. This game is hard to go 70 to 80 yards and score touchdowns. You got to get some short fields. They got to start getting some breaks, and Carson's got to start getting some confidence underneath him by virtue of all that. And then things can get back to normalcy. And I think they can get an 8-win season.
Harry, would you hang around for just a second, because I know you're into golf. You've got the great virtual golf scene behind you. We've got our virtual coach. He's actually not real. He's an algorithm. And Coach is I'll tell you what's not an algorithm is Coach Success. He was 2-1 last week. He's been 15-6 over the past 5 weeks in PGA golf. Absolutely knocking it out of the park. Coach, I know you guys are in Jackson, Mississippi. I want to bring in Harry Bass back in a second to have you guys discuss this. But what do you got for us this week as far as PGA?
Well, I'm anxious to hear what Harry has to say about my picks. I really am, because finally we have somebody who understands golf coming on this damn show. But
Coach, you and I play golf all over the world. Pebble Beach, Pinehurst too, up in Black Wolf Run. You never beat me in golf. I'm undefeated against you. I'm like Tiger Woods compared to like Happy Gilmore.
Who said anything about playing golf? I said understanding golf betting.
Okay.
Why do you always make it about yourself?
Because
God, you make it about yourself really all the time. Can I please do my little segment right here? Would that be okay with you?
Go ahead,
Mr. Thank you very much. All right, so here's the deal. Grab your pen and papers, everybody, because all we're doing is printing money. All right, you got your paper. Godfather, you got yours. Harry, you got your – all right, he's got his pen. All right, here we go. Now, this is what we call hidden money, because we understand that Sanderson Farms and it's Jackson, Mississippi, when you're talking week 4 of the NFL, nobody's really paying attention. But as we know, in the gambling world, nobody looks at a dollar and says, where did you make that money? It doesn't matter where you made it at. So we've got 5 different picks. We're going overboard this week. So here's what I like, a top 10 pick. Sam Burns. He's been great the last several tournaments. My man, Sam Burns. I think Harry likes it. Harry likes it. So he's plus 275 for a top 10 pick this week. Now, as we go to our head-up tournament matchups, which last week, our 2 wins, they were over by Friday, Harry. I don't even worry about Sunday. I'm done by Friday. So here we go. Adam Long. He's been fantastic. He's only minus 110 against Doc Redman. Why? Because Doc plays pretty well at these off-branded events. Not this week. Adam Long's motivated. He wants to win. He played great last week in the Dominican. I got him over Doc Redman. Sam Burns, plus 125 over Will Zalatoris. Everybody is in love with Will, right, Harry? Because he played great at the U.S. Open. He played great last week on Sunday to have a backdoor top 10, but fatigue is going to start to set in. He even claimed on Sunday he was exhausted. So what's he going to be like this week in the heat of Jackson, Mississippi? Miscut. All right, and how about Brian Harman this week? Minus 120 over Zach Johnson. And look at Harry! Yes! So now Zach Johnson hasn't been good at all except for one tournament the last 5. And Brian Harman last year played in this event, had a T14, played very, very well. He's been playing well also. And my last pick, my favorite name in golf, I'm going to pick him every damn week until he loses for me. Last week, he almost won the damn tournament. Xinjiang Zhang.
Without looking down, Coach, spell it. Without looking down, spell it. You look down.
No, I didn't. No. I didn't look at the name. I looked at the top part of my paper. Xinjunxhang. Xinjiang Zhang. Thank you very much.
That's beautiful.
He is somehow, thank you, Godfather. Somehow he is an underdog to Sergio Garcia.
Oh, my God.
Who hasn't made a cut since like 2018.
Yeah.
These are the events that Vegas doesn't pay attention to.
Yeah, you're right.
And that's why there's so much value. Harry, what do you think about my picks?
Coach, I love your picks. It's amazing. It's unbelievable. I thought you might have listened already to episode 15 of the Swing It and Ding It podcast that came out this morning, because I selected Sam Burns again as my guy. Plus 2,300. He's a top 5 plus 700. He was 3rd in this event in 2018. He's playing out of his mind. He's made, I think, 7 top 32s. He's been in the top 32 in 7 of his last 9 events. And he puts so well on Bermuda greens. And that's one of the big features here at Jackson Country Club. So I love the Sam Burns pick out of LSU. Brian Harman, you brought him up. The guy putts with a frying pan on the end of a stick. It's unbelievable.
I don't get it. I know.
I don't get it either, but it works for him. He's like 5'6". He's one of the guys who's shorter than me. was T14, as you mentioned, plus 3,500 to win, and a top 5 plus 750. I am all in on that. And Long, you brought up him last, he crapped the bed on Sunday. So I think there's a lot of motivation for him.
Yes.
As there is for Sam Burns, who had a good tournament going into Saturday and had a bad round Saturday, came back with, I think it was might have been 6 under par on Sunday.
He was before anybody paid attention. Yeah.
So
well, you remember Safeway,
right.
Harry? At Safeway, he was a 36-hole leader.
Exactly.
And then he crapped the bet on Saturday, same thing. And then so he's done that 2 tournaments in a row.
His time's coming, Coach.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And all we're talking about, he's only got to beat one guy. Is what we're talking about. And you like him to win, which I think it's a really good pick too. So finally, Harry, I had respect for you before as a radio talent, as a national radio talent. My respect for you as a golf handicapper just went through the roof.
Well, I much appreciate that, Coach. But I tell you, the last 2 guys that have won have been 200-to-1 shots.
Sebastian Munoz. Oh, you mean this year or at this event?
In the last 2 tournaments. So, what about Hank Lebioda or something at 200-to-1? Let's throw some money on one of these 200-to-1 shots.
See, we normally do, but we're trying to also teach people on this podcast about money management. And if we give out winners, then they get pissed. Well, your guy didn't win.
Right.
Well, it's like a needle in a haystack. So I agree with you that Hudson Swafford would have been a great pick last week.
Right.
But when we give out losers and you know this, when you throw out a pick for a winner. Exactly. Yeah. That's why we don't do it. But I agree with you. Right now is when you throw out a Hail Mary because, I had Lonto Griffin last year at 45-to-1 and won $4,500. So at the Houston Open. So there are times that you want to do that for sure.
Coach is the man on golf.
Harry, did I tell you that I beat Coach in golf?
True story. He was late to a tee time, said, "Get me a case of beer." 8:40 a.m. was our tee time. I didn't get the case of beer. He shows up at the first tee, pissed as hell, because we would have missed it. It was playing up at Whistling Straits, Black Wolf Run. So you don't just miss your tee time and get on another one. So he shows up pissed at me because there's no beer. And I just drank with him till 2 a.m. the night before. And so he ordered a beer cart girl. She brought the case in the second hole. He shoots an 83, drinks the entire case of beer.
True.
And we fly out later that day.
What a story. That's all.
Incredible day.
Golf. You need a beer cart on these PGA tours. These guys can play. Can you play when you've had 18 beers?
I agree.
You still have to make the putt. That's
Paige Spiranak on a beer cart at the PGA Tour. Let's get going.
Oh, we need to get her on the podcast. That's what I'm talking about.
Hey, Harry. Thank you very much. It's been such a pleasure to meet you. It's great to have you on the podcast. Philly Godfather talks about you with such reverential terms, and I understand why you are the man. So thank you very much for joining Follow the Action. It is Swing It and Ding It is the name of the podcast. And Harry, thank you very much.
I love that name.
Thank you so much, guys. Anytime.
Great. Oh, that's great.
Super.
That's great.
That was awesome.
Good idea, Mikey.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, guys.
Good, Harry. Thanks,
Harry. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Harry, thanks.
Harry, I want to come on your podcast sometime.
Absolutely. Let's hook it up.
You tell me. That I love the name, man. Swing It and Ding It. That's fucking hilarious. Oh, my God. I love it.
All right. Thanks, PGF.
You got to have it.
Good luck, brother. Good luck on your place.